Let's build a Kaito Bane of Nightmares Oathbreaker deck. We're going to look at a ton of different options for cards we can put in the deck. We're going to pick a signature spell, talk about different directions the deck could take, then we're going to build the deck and talk about it. Kaito costs 2 blue black and starts at 4 loyalty, and he's got ninjutsu, but we can't use that because you can only ninjutsu from your hand, which sucks, but it is what it is. During your turn, as long as Kaito has 1 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 3/4 ninja creature and has hexproof. +1, you get an emblem with ninjas you control get +1/+1. 0, surveil 2, then draw a card for each opponent who lost life this turn. -2, tap target creature, put 2 stun counters on it. Obviously, we've got to do Ninja Tribal with this. That +1 is perfect, making this actually one of probably the best tribal options in the format. For signature spell, I picked Raise the Palisade. It's a 5-mana sorcery. Choose creature type. Return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hands. This is going to bounce everything but yours. My next, it was between that and Crippling Fear and Kindred Dominance, which are also kind of board wipes that don't take out yours. These just seem like the best option for this, but Raise the Palisade is the one I'm going with. Kaito has quite a bit going on to synergize with here. I think there's some stuff we could use to synergize with that 0 ability, making each opponent lose life so we can get the maximum use out of the card draw. And even the -2, I might put just a little bit of Proliferate in, because yes, you can proliferate stun counters, and of course it proliferates up Kaito as well. But first, let's take a look at some creature options. I searched for all ninjas and sorted them by EDH rec rank, so this will show us some of the best ones first. I really like Nashi Moon Sage Scion. It's got ninjutsu for 4. When Nashi Moon Sage's Scion deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of each player's library. Until end of turn, you may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than its mana cost. Yeah, that seems really solid. Also, Fallen Shinobi with a ninjutsu of 4. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of their library. Until end of turn, you may play those cards without paying their mana costs. Thousand-Faced Shadow is a great one for getting other creatures ninjutsu'd in, because it's a 1/1 flyer for just 1 mana, and it's got ninjutsu of 4. When it enters the battlefield from your hand, if it's attacking, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. The token enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. I love how this is good early game, and it's also good late game. Prosperous Thief with ninjutsu of 4. Whenever 1 or more ninja or rogue creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Yes, ramp on my creatures. Yes, please. Yuriko has Commander Ninjutsu, and I didn't realize till reading it now, but it still works from your hand. It doesn't have to be from the command zone. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put it onto your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's mana value. Silver Fur Master. Ninjutsu abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate. Other ninja and rogue creatures you control get +1/+1. An excellent little lord here. Silent Blade Ani is get a little bit steep in the mana cost here, but I guess if you can ninjutsu it out. When it deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand. You may cast a spell from among those cards without paying its mana cost. Ingenious Infiltrator. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Ink Eyes, one of my old favorites. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may put target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and it regenerates for 2. Mistblade Shinobi. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature that player controls to its owner's hand. Ninja of Deep Hours. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Sakashima's Student. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's a ninja in addition to its other types. Moon Circuit Hacker Loots. Satoru Emuzawa says, whenever you activate a ninjutsu ability, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This ability triggers only once a turn, and each creature card in your hand has ninjutsu of 4. So, I mean, even if you've got other ninjas in your hand that have a higher ninjutsu cost, like that one that ninjutsu'd for 6, that lowers it. Very cool. Throat Slitter. When it deals combat damage to a player, destroy target non-black creature. Mist Syndicate Naga. When it deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of Mist Syndicate Naga. Now we're getting out of the exceptional ones and just into the pretty darn good ones. Higur the Still Wind says, when it deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a ninja card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. It also has pay 2. Target ninja can't be blocked this turn. Awesome for getting your ninjutsu abilities in, or just getting that damage in. Dakushi Silencer says, when it deals combat damage to a player, you may discard a creature card. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker that player controls. Satoru the Infiltrator has Menace, and whenever it and or one or more other non-token creatures enters the battlefield under your control, if none of them were cast or no mana was spent to cast them, draw a card. I love how much card draw there is in ninjas. That seems really good. It's a big selling point here. Same with removal. There's a fair amount of removal on some of these ninjas, like Moonsnare Specialist. When it enters the battlefield, return up to one target creature to its owner's hand. Orochi Soul Reaver, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and manifest the top card of that player's library. Yeah, I'm impressed with how much ninjutsu there is here. I didn't expect quite so much. But the other half of a ninja deck is things that are unblockable. That's what I'm worried about. We need to be able to bounce stuff back to our hand. I see we've got Phantom Ninja here, which can't be blocked. This one's... No, I thought it was a flyer. No, it's a flasher. That's not quite the same. Not really what we're looking for, but it might make the cut anyways because it's got backup and hexproof, so it can give something else hexproof. Unblocked ninjas you control have lifelink. Now that doesn't help you get in to ninjutsu stuff, but it is pretty cool because kind of having unblockable creatures is a sort of semi-theme of ninjas. Here, this one I like. 2-mana flyer. That's an easy one to bounce back to your hand and ninjutsu in something else. So we don't have that many ninjas, but we do have changelings. We can't forget about changelings. They are all creature types. So we've got, I've got it sorted EDH rank. Black Market Connections comes up on top. It's an enchantment for 3. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, choose one or more. Create a treasure token, you lose 1 life. Draw a card, you lose 2 life. Or create a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. You lose 3 life. Now I love this card in Commander, but that's a 40 life format. This is a 20 life format. And these hurt a lot more. There have been times in Commander where I choose all 3, you know, but I would never, ever, ever do that in Oathbreaker, probably. Also, I don't think this is a good one for the deck anyway, because we don't want to bounce the token. We can't recast a token later in the same way. So I'm going to say no to that one. Maskwood Nexus. Creatures you control are every creature type. And it can make the shapeshifter changelings. I don't think so either. I think for the most part we just want ninjas in the deck. Although we will explore some options later on non-ninja creatures we could put in. Changeling Outcast. This is an all-star. We absolutely want this one here. It can't block, and can't be blocked. A good thing to bounce back to hand to ninjutsu. Bloodline Pretender. As it enters, choose a creature type. Whenever another creature of the chosen type enters under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Bloodline Pretender. Maybe. Seems okay, for sure. Universal Automaton, it's just a plain Jane 1/1 with Changeling. Not incredible, but this is a lower mana value format, so maybe. Graveshifter for 4. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Moth Dust Changeling. Tap an untapped creature you control. It gains flying until end of turn. I think this is probably pretty solid. Maybe that cost is a little higher than I'm making it out to be, the tap an untapped creature thing. But I like the idea of giving it flying and ninjutsuing in something else. Horvar, the all form. I didn't realize this one had Changeling. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of those permanents. Whenever a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard a card, create a token that's a copy of target permanent. Okay, what are some other highlights here? Shapesharer, I've always liked this one. 2 mana, you can pay 3 to make target shapeshifter become a copy of target creature until your next turn. You can even copy turn your shapeshifters, and you probably will have several of them in the deck, including himself, and even into your opponent's creatures, which are nice, but they won't get Kaito's +1/+1 ninja bonus then, just so you know. There's some more okay ones. Yeah, we're definitely getting into the less good changelings here. I guess this one's a maybe. It's got flying, although ideally you would want to bounce something much lower mana value, 1 or 2 instead of 3. Okay, there's all the ninja options. There is one other way of getting ninjas, I guess. We could make token copies of our ninjas. I'm not sure that is what I want to do with the deck, but it is an option. I'm going to go over them very, very quickly. Now, the reason I don't like these quite as much is partly because you don't want to ninjutsu those back to your hand. Sure, you can make token copies of ninjas you control, And you know what? I might rethink things and put 1 or 2 in the deck if I'm running kind of short on ninjas and I need a critical mass of ninjas. But since I can't bounce them to ninjutsu, then I probably won't put any of these in. But these videos aren't just about how I'm building the deck. They're about how you might want to build the deck yourself. So I just wanted to mention it as an option. Now we could get more ninjas in the deck by cloning them. I don't think we want too many clones, but 1 or 2 should be okay. I love Mockingbird. That's my favorite one. For X blue, it's a 1/1 flyer. You may have Mockingbird enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield with mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast Mockingbird, except it's a bird and it's in addition to its other types, and it has flying. Now this is great early in the game. You can just cast it as a 1/1 flyer that you can bounce later for ninjutsu, or you can make it into a ninja later. Also, it's got evasions, so some of those, when it deals damage to an opponent thing, can trigger a little bit easier. There's lots of other good clones too. Let's see, Flesh Duplicate, Phantasmal Image is pretty good for the mana cost. A little vulnerable, but good. Renegade Doppelganger I like, but there are quite a few to choose from here. Again, don't choose too many clones. That I think is going to be a mistake. If we weren't totally set on just using ninjas, there are some nice low mana options that are unblockable, like Mistcloak Herald here. Also Slitherblade. Oh, I missed one. Guttle Lurker can't be blocked, and it's also got Megamorph. Triton Shorewalker, Tormented Soul, although I'd probably skip Tormented Soul because it also can't block. Here's some options that make our creature unblockable. This is not only good, obviously, to ninjutsu in creatures, but also because a lot of ninjas have, when it deals combat damage to a player, effects. So in that case, Aqueous Form is pretty sweet. It's an enchantment that makes a creature unblockable. But maybe an instant or sorcery like Artful Dodge, or right below it, Distortion Strike would be good, which has Rebound. You can kind of get double use out of these. Though the instants and sorcery ones seem better if you want to ninjutsu stuff in, and other stuff seems better if you want to get the triggers from dealing combat damage. Enter the Enigma might be another one too, because it cantrips, and I like that about it. Same with Slip Through Space. It's essentially the same card. Brotherhood Regalia is an equipment that makes something unblockable. I like Gossip's Talent. It's a class. Whenever a creature you control enters, Surveil 1, and you can pay 2 to level it up. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. Key to the City is one I've had a lot of luck with. Tap, discard a card. Up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn. Whenever Key to the City becomes untapped, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. So it's got kind of a rummaging effect. I like that you don't have to pay mana. You don't have to keep paying mana into it to make a creature unblockable. The cost is discarding a card. Prowler's Helm is another equipment that gives unblockable. Also Silver Shroud Costume. I really like this one. Flash, when it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. That creature gains Shroud until end of turn. Equipped creature can't be blocked. So this is, not only is it a creature can't be blocked, but it's also kind of a protection spell. Cover of Darkness might be good. An enchantment for 2. When it comes into play, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type have fear. That means they can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. Roaming Throne might work well. It's got Ward 2. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. It's the chosen type in addition to its other types. If a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. I think this would work with a lot of the ninja abilities. Let's talk about ways we can synergize with the 0. Draw a card for each opponent who lost life this turn. Obviously, they can lose life when you are attacking them, but it might be nice to have a couple things that also drain our opponents, you know? Like Sanctum of Stone Fangs. I don't know if I'd use this one, but at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. So, you know, they can't get rid of it because it's not as easily, because it's not a creature, it's an enchantment. And then anytime you want to use that 0, you're going to be drawing pretty much cards equal to the number of opponents you have. And I do like the idea of enchantments with that, whereas there are plenty of instants and sorceries that have that kind of ability. It's a one-shot thing. I do like Blood Tithe, though. Each opponent loses 3 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So in a 4-player game, you're causing 9 loss of life, and you're gaining 9. Like I mentioned earlier, we can put some Proliferate in the deck to synergize with a -2. I would not go overboard on there. Maybe 1 or 2 at the most, I would think, because we don't have much counter synergy aside from just plussing. Also, Kaito. So maybe Drown an Ichor or Whisper of the Dross for a little kill spell, I'm thinking. There's other options, but I feel like they're probably not worth it if Proliferate is what we're really looking for here. We could go a whole game and easily not even use that -2, so yeah, take it or leave it. Here's a few other cards that have to do with ninjas. I think probably none of them are really worth the include. Maybe Kaito's Pursuit. Target player discards 2 cards. Ninjas and rogues you control gain Menace until end of turn, and the Menace will help them get in unblocked, and then you can ninjutsu. That's a possibility. Okay, I've got some ideas now. I'm going to build the deck, pause the video, and come back. It'll be just a second for you, though. We're going to go over the build and some of the cards I didn't talk about. All right, I got the deck all finished up here. I'm going to talk about just a few of the cards I haven't talked about yet. Ornithopter. If I was going to put in one non-ninja, this seemed like the way to go. It's 0 mana, and it's got flying. So you attack with it, you ninjutsu in something else, return the Ornithopter to hand, cast it for free on your second main phase. It sounds really good. I've never played ninjas before, but my guess is Ornithopter is a pretty good pick. I tried to pick a lot of creatures that have either draw or removal. I actually wound up putting 10 pieces of removal in the deck if you count the signature spell. I just figured that would make it easier to get in combat damage, easier to ninjutsu things in. All in all, it looks like a really fun deck. I'll show you the removal I picked here. Drown an Ichor was the Proliferate one that I was talking about. Fell Nanogene Conversion. This one is really wonky in this deck. One of my subscribers pointed this out to me when I did my other Kaito video. So it's a sorcery for 4. Choose target creature you control. Each other creature becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn, except it isn't legendary. So first of all, this is all creatures. This includes yours and your opponent's. Obviously, you can use it to copy one of the ninjas if you want to, or one of your opponent's creatures, but you can also copy Kaito. Let me take a look at Kaito here. So we haven't talked about this much during the video, but during your turn, as long as Kaito has 1 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 3/4 ninja creature and has hexproof. And if a planeswalker doesn't have any loyalty counters on them, they die. Which means if you target Kaito with Nanogene Conversion, it's a board wipe. Everything but Kaito dies. Really goofy. You don't have to use it that way, but you can. And I really love it for that. For lands, I put in Access Tunnel. Rogue's Passage might have been a good one too. It was between the two. Pay 3, tap target creature with power 3 or less, can't be blocked this turn. Good for getting in some of those when it deals damage to a player effects or ninjutsu. If you liked the video, like the video. I've got a series on my channel where I pair planeswalkers to signature spells. I've done about 170 of those. I'm starting to run out of planeswalkers, so I'm trying to find a new series that I can do. So we'll see how this one does. My guess is these videos are too long to be popular, but I guess we'll see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.